Live from the Big Tomato. Welcome to Kings Pod 2020 with your hosts, Geoff and Toke. What's up, Geoff? Happy
Toke,
New Year.
Happy New Year. What's going on, man? It's been almost 30 games since we got to catch up on the pod, at least. We've had some private conversations about what's been going on, but it's good to be back with you here.
Yeah, well, you and I had a hell of a time earlier this month. We went to Las Vegas, Nevada. Although technically I think it's
Las Vegas.
Paradise, Nevada. We had a hell of a time, and we stayed at the Wynn. It was fantastic. Great hotel. Highly recommend. Let's talk about the trip because the Kings suck.
So, I think speaking of the win, I think the theme of the trip is that you win by winning.
You win by winning.
And we saw a number of people do some big winning on this trip. Specifically, night 2, some people made out like bandits.
The names will be changed to protect the innocent or or protect the guilty.
Just for protection purposes.
No, I had a hell of a time. I know you missed the first night. We get there, we throw some money on the Indiana-Oregon game. I took Indiana to cover. I think they were like 3.5 point favorites, and they blew the Ducks out. I'm sure your sister-in-law was very disappointed.
She wasn't thrilled with that.
After that, you know, I got to share this story because you weren't here for this. So we wrap up with dinner the first night. This is for my bachelor party. And it's probably like 9:15. And you had Sacramento at San Francisco. And the Kings were down like 12 points. And I did a live action bet. I was like, I'm taking the Warriors with the points here. Okay. Because I've seen so many Kings games in my life. I think there was like a minute left in the third quarter. And they were coming off of like, you know, just like this was like their 7th straight loss, I think, at that point or something like that. And I just thought to myself, there's no way San Francisco doesn't cover. And so I think I took San Francisco minus 19.5. And I think the Kings ended up losing by like 28 or something, or 30 or something like that. And it was easy money. But then as a good Kings fan, I didn't stop there. I took the Warriors with the points. Okay. So I hit on Indiana. I hit on San Francisco. I'm like, you know what? I see that Milwaukee is at LA Lakers at crypto.com arena. Milwaukee's up by 9 points with like 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'm going to take the Lakers with the points because I think Milwaukee was favored by like 4.5 or 3.5 points. So you just needed the Lakers to lose by 4 points,
right,
or less, or 5 points or less, or whatever. And then I also took the Lakers money line because as a Kings fan on a Friday night game in Los Angeles, I knew what was going to happen. The referees were going to get the Lakers closer. And I think I ended up hitting on the Lakers with the spread, but I lost on the Lakers money line. So I hit like 4 out of my first 5 bets. Though we went to the craps table. I don't know how to play craps. Do you know how to play craps?
I got a general idea, but not as much as these degenerates we were hanging out with.
Well, the degenerates we were hanging out with could tell you all the rules. And like, one of the guys was explaining the rules to me, and like 2 minutes into it, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Still wasn't connecting.
This isn't. So I just told myself, you know what? Just tell me what I need to do. And they're like, put your chips here. And I did. And the stack doubled. So I pulled out the winnings. And I did that like 5 times in a row. And after like the 5th or 6th time, I was like, okay, this isn't how this is supposed to work, where this stack just keeps doubling. So I just pulled my chips. So that was Friday night.
You know, man, I think you deserve that kind of luck on your bachelor party. You got to come out a winner. But I will say this: I'm a little surprised you didn't think that this Kings roster had the grit to turn it on in the fourth quarter. You know, I thought that maybe you would be a true believer, thinking maybe this, you know, maybe these veterans on the team are going to want to show a little heart and show why they belong. And you know, sad that you called that one right.
Well, a lot of sad things. I guess just to put a bow on the bachelor party stuff, you showed up, and I think we had some winning on Saturday night as well. Although I was not awake for that.
No, you were awake for some of it because that Fresno State, San Diego State college basketball game.
I kind of forgot about that.
I don't even know how.
That was the most.
I don't even know how to explain it to our listeners here.
That was the most degenerate gambling I've ever been a part of.
By far.
And I wasn't even a big part of it. I just I made the first bet. I didn't.
Oh my gosh! I think I pressed that game 4 or 5 times.
All right,
I think I hit on 3 of them, so it all worked out. But I was like, every time there was a timeout, it's like, we got to go press. We got to go press. I'm like, why? Why do we have to press? But I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it.
Just to share with our listeners. So we finished dinner on Saturday night, and then we go, we get a drink at one of in the Cosmopolitan at one of the bars. It was cool, whatever. So we cut out from there. We go to the sportsbook at the Cosmo, and we're like, hey, let's see what NBA games are going on. There is not a single NBA game on.
I think there's only one live sporting event.
There was some hockey games.
Oh,
and then there was like some women's basketball, I think, or there was some women's sports going on. But like as far as like men's sports that I know something about, which I don't know anything about Fresno State or San Diego State, but I was like, whatever. So the math that we did was San Diego State was favored at the beginning of the game by 14.5, and they were down by like 19. So the thought process was
Fresno was down by 19.
Fresno State was down by 19. Right. So the thought process was Vegas usually gets it right. So if they were originally 14-point dogs and they're down by 19, it's probably going to move in the other direction.
But I think we got it as much as like 26.5. One of the presses was at like a wild number.
Dude, this was insane. Like they came down. I think when we got in, it was like 22. They were down by 22. So I put my money in and I got Fresno plus like 29.5. So like they just had to not lose by 30, and I would have won my money.
And they were
and I threw $100 there, which like who the hell's throwing $100 on a Fresno State San Diego? Like that's for me. That's
bachelor party guys
gambling, right?
At like 11 p.m.
Bro, they're down by 22 points. We throw our money down. We lock in the 29-point spread, and like. They basically start coming back from like 22. They get it down to like 18, timeout San Diego State. Other folks in the group, not myself, ran to the sports kiosk and they pressed. They doubled their bet. So now it's like Fresno State plus 25.5.
Something like
so they just need to lose by like less than 26 or whatever. And they come back from the timeout. Fresno State
goes on a little bit of a run.
Goes on another run. They get it down to like 14. Another timeout. The group runs over. They press again. Basically, they press like 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 times.
Yep.
And I think the last press was like, screw it. We're taking Fresno State money line. They're gonna pull this out.
Well, hold on. One of the more greedy members of our community,
very greedy guy.
One of the more greedy members of our community. There's like a minute and a half left of this game, and they're down by 14. And he's like, "I don't care. They're gonna pull it out. They're gonna win this game."
And by the way,
that's when
we are yelling.
That's when
we're yelling at every shot that goes in, and everyone around us is just like, we were that group. In Vegas.
100%.
Like
100%.
People went home and they talked about us. Anyway,
But I remember
hit on
that's
my bet.
like when that's when everyone like came back to reality, was when, because the guy who was yelling that was the guy who was like encouraging all the pressing, which I was taking part in. But when he said they're gonna win the game, I'm like, this is how I know I have to be out. Like now we're in fairy tale land.
I think at one point I threw out there like, "Do you hedge?" And he was like, "No, you don't hedge.
You never hedge." So ridiculous.
And
But
then
you know
that
what?
individual
We came out
won a lot of money.
money ahead on that one, and and he went on to win a bunch of money at craps and blackjack. So maybe he knows something we don't know.
Quite a trip. All right, let's do the thing that no one else wants to do. Let's talk about the Kings. All right, since our last podcast, the Kings are 7-20, which is actually probably way better than their cumulative record up to that point. They're on pace to win 20 and a half games this season. So let's round up and say 21. So they're on a 21 win season pace, which is like, that's wild.
Yep.
They're 12-36 overall. What's there to say, man?
I think first and foremost, I want to say, listening to these guys, I still listen to the morning radio shows and some of the afternoon shows about the Kings.
Yep.
The fact that these guys can keep talking about the Kings day after day, every single day, I'm like, it's honestly admirable.
It's not easy.
Oh, it's not easy at all. I mean, there's a reason we haven't done a podcast in a while, because it's like, well, what else can you say besides the Kings are bad? I think with the trade deadline coming up, which I know we're going to get to, we can have some more interesting stuff to talk about. But I think at this point with the Kings where they're at, this is who they are. And so without the changes to the roster, then this is who they're going to be. And quite frankly, I don't know if there's any changes to the roster on the horizon.
So, I mean, from a cosmic standpoint, is this the most is the vibe here the worst it's ever been? Because I would say it is. But I mean, there was a season where they won 17 games.
I actually don't think it is.
Okay.
And from the people that I'm talking to, just friends, Kings fans, I think most people are honestly so beaten down by this team over the years that, like, there's no expectations there. There's no expectations that we're going to be good. And so it's kind of just more of the same. So, like, I think there were other years where the vibe was worse because we had expectations. This year is just kind of, everyone's like, well, the Kings are back, right? We had a couple of good years there where we thought things might be going well. We had some disastrous trades that we don't even need to talk about. And then, we're back to doing what the Kings do. So no, I don't think the vibes are bad. But I think that that's probably because most people aren't paying attention anymore. Because from my perspective, as we look forward to, where our roster is, what the money that we have on the roster, the age of our roster, and then the assets that we have looking forward, and the levers we have to pull looking forward, I think it's going to be bad for a long time. And if you were taking the time to dive into it, vibes should be terrible.
I think that, I mean, this is all very cliche. It's a trope, whatever, but it's kind of like when someone tells you the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the way I look at it. And so that would be my argument for why it's the worst vibe you can have. Like, hating this team and like being like frustrated is not as bad. So, like, to your point, people are kind of checked out and they are kind of just like, dude, what are we doing? It's been 20 years. Like, but I think that that's kind of a worse place to be. I think people are kind of resigned to the fact that we don't get to have a professional basketball team in Sacramento. We're just kind of the Washington Generals. We have an arena downtown that can host other teams bringing their talent, and that's really the only reason anyone would ever go to a Kings game. Um, and that's really sad because, you know, I came up in this city being a Kings fan, and there was some suffering in our childhood in the 90s, but it was always kind of understood, I felt like, that the Kings were being held back by a combination of uninterested ownership and just like kind of the NBA was not at a point where small teams could compete back then.
Right.
Everything was, LA, Chicago, those types of markets. And then once you got an ownership group that actually gave a damn, I mean, it's funny now in 2026, we look back at the Maloofs and it with much kinder
right.
glasses than we did 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But literally, it just took an ownership group that gave a damn and a couple lucky slash, just a couple breaks coming our way. And we had one of the best teams in the NBA for half a decade or almost a decade there. And then, it's
Right.
kind of been a regression to the mean. I think the frustrating part at this point, though, is the Kings are not obviously making financial moves. They're not obviously trying to have the lowest payroll in the league like they did with the Maloofs towards the end. And it's like, okay, well, that's why they suck. No, the Kings are trying to be good and failing. And that's just like, and we got a lot to unpack here. And I think I want to transition this into like talking about the roster, but just like on a vibes level.
But
the Kings are so bad, man. They're just so bad. They're so poorly run as an organization. And I think that you just need a clean house. That's going to hurt some feelings of people that I know directly, but they need to hear it. Like, hey, 20 years is a good run for a lot of these people.
Yeah. But do you think that they're trying to be good right now? and so the reason I ask that is because like McNair was allegedly trying to make them good. And he basically saddled us with one of the worst roster compositions you could have from both a player standpoint and from a money standpoint. But I don't see the Kings this year trying to be a good team. I think they're trying to figure out how they can make moves and how they can do some cleaning of the roster, but I don't see them. I think they're eyes wide open as far as what the team is and where it's going to be. I do think it's very interesting, and I heard this the other day. There is this kind of interesting like reworking or like revisionist history on the expectations for this season. So one of our color commentators was on with Carmichael Dave, and they were saying, yeah, I think we all knew this year was going to be pretty rough once because we knew that Scott Perry was taking over and that he was going to want to make some changes. And I'm like, I didn't think it was going to be this rough. I mean, and neither did any of the other, like all the projections this year were kind of right around that like 38, 40 game mark, whatever. So
Vegas had us, I think, at either 34.5 or 35.5. So
yeah, I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the radio hosts that
Carmichael
were like
Dave,
making their projections.
I get into Carmichael Dave all the time because he doesn't believe you win by winning. But Carmichael Dave was the only one, I think, who really called how bad this season was going to be. I said that a winning, like a 500 would have been a win for this season. I think anything less or anything more than that was this. But I think we initially put the win total. I put it at 38. You put it at like 37 or 30. Like we were about,
yeah, we were
about
very
the
close.
same. And then as soon as I saw Keegan Murray got hurt, I immediately like revised it down.
I think
he
like dropped 30. To 10 games. Yeah.
Or like 28 because I was like, oh, they don't have a forward on the team. But I don't think I was expecting them to be this bad. And so to go back to your initial question about Scott Perry and what the
like, are they trying to be good right now?
I think that Scott Perry understood that he was not going to be able to do anything with this roster for the next 2 years. So I think his intention was to try to be as competitive as he could in the next 2 years. So I don't think it was a stealth tank necessarily, but I think it became pretty obvious within the first like 15 games of the season which direction this season was going. And I think that's when the bottom fell out and they shifted gears and they're like, you know what? We're not looking to be buyers, we're looking to be sellers. Now, the problem with being a seller when you don't have anything of value is that no one's coming to your yard sale.
And everybody knows you're a seller.
Let's assess the roster.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down the list. We're not looking at stats. We're not bean counters, which is off of vibes. I want to get kind of some rapid fire to see where we're at with different people.
Right.
So what do you think about Dylan Cardwell, undrafted two-way player?
I think that he, with a good point guard, I think he can be a good backup. And I think that him in the lob game could be amazing. But I don't think he is a starting forward in this league. Yet.
I think he is pretty close to a finished product. He's like 24. Okay. I mean, look, it's like another Keon Ellis type situation. You got an undrafted guy who's an NBA player that's found money. Let's not get ahead of ourselves and hype this guy up to be more than what he is.
Right.
Like, I think that's it's found money. Just be happy with it. So, I think that hopefully you do a better job with him than you did with Keon Ellis. I'll just leave it at that.
I agree. And I think it also comes down to like, what does he look like when he's on a real team with real players who care? Right. So that's the other part, that like players in Sacramento can stand out and can look really good. And then they end up on like a legitimate team and they are not good. I think of like Quincy AC. You remember Quincy AC? It's like, Sacramento loved Quincy AC, and he was kind of a hard-nosed guy down in the paint, but like when he left, he's not in the league anymore, I don't think. And when he left, he was not good. So I think that, it's hard to evaluate talent in Sacramento because, we have these guys that are playing, they're getting more minutes than they would have gotten any other place.
It's also kind of this element of like, we just want someone who like hustles, and we love those players. And it's like, you guys really need to readjust that mentality, because to be honest, that's kind of a loser's mentality. Like, you should want star players because that's how you win.
Right.
Are these like role players that are hard-nosed like useful? Yes, but don't put all your eggs in that basket and don't overvalue your own guys. All right, Maxime Raynaud.
I like him. I like him. I think that he's going to continue to develop. I think he's smart. I think he's going to be I think he'll be a legitimate NBA player. I think he'll turn into somebody that we want to have on the roster, especially as he stays on his rookie deal. I think it's going to be great value.
Right. Well, he's starting to hit a little bit of a rookie wall. Production's fallen off. I think he's on scouting reports now, and teams know how to defend him. So scoring has kind of evaporated. But look, that's to be expected. The guy was a second-round pick. I would also put this in the category of found money.
100%.
If you get a second-round player who's playable, and he's already playable
rookie year, it's like it's a no-brainer.
Okay. Now, am I banking on him to be like the future center of the Kings? We're not even close to that.
No, not even close.
So,
no.
All right, Nique Clifford.
Nique Clifford, I still need to see more because, again, he's a first-round guy, which means that he's going to have to be the guy at some point. I mean, so my perspective of first-round picks is that they need to be a legitimate contributor on your team, and I'm not sure that we've seen enough of him or that he's – I have to see the development over the next couple of years.
Okay, I have bad news for everyone. So they always talk about when you make a trade, you have to wait a few years to see kind of how it all shakes out. Like if there are draft picks involved, what are those draft picks? Ladies and gentlemen, the Kings have already fundamentally executed a lot of the results of the De'Aaron Fox trade. Nique Clifford was your 2027 San Antonio Spurs pick that the Kings traded to Oklahoma City, or at the back end of the 25 draft to take Nique. So that's one of your first round picks for De'Aaron Fox. The other first round picks in 2031. So, okay, wait another 5 years for that, which again, like who knows what's going to be happening in the world in 5 years. And then I think that the Charlotte first round pick that they had got converted to 2 second round picks, one of which was the pick they used for Maxime. So you traded De'Aaron Fox. Now we can start filling this trade this trade out a little bit. You traded De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine, Maxime Raynaud, and Nique Clifford, and one more second round pick and one more first round pick in the future.
Yeah, right. But we already know we got murdered on that trade, so it's one of those deals where it's like, I don't think it's fair to look at Maxime and Nique in those lights. I think you just got to assess them on.
I'm not. I'm just making a separate point about like, well, we kind of already know what we got for Fox.
Yeah, fair point.
Okay, I have to ask because he is still on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about Devin Carter?
G League.
G League?
He's a G League guy. I think there's nothing else to say.
The fact that the Kings wasted the number 13 pick on that guy is absolutely amazing. And to all the Rhode Island Friars or
Providence,
whatever,
Providence,
who are coming at me on Twitter, I don't care about what any of you people have to say. You're wrong.
Listen, I'm sure he was dope in college. There's a lot of players that were dope in college. But we drafted him when he had a shoulder injury, then he couldn't play. And now he's not good.
And so now he's playing, and there's no there.
It was a horrible draft pick just from the optics alone. Like you drafted a guy who was already injured at the 13 spot, and then he's awful. It's like, what a terrible decision.
What are we doing? Okay. Some of the veteran players. Look, I'm just gonna say it from now. If I was in charge of the Kings, this is not going to be popular. I would do whatever it was in my power to trade Keegan Murray. I think that guy.
I agree. I think we said this last
making
time.
$28 million a year starting next year, I think, or into the year out. Anyway, whenever that contract starts, oh my God, you're getting murdered for what you're getting for that money.
And again, this is another one of those guys where you're like, people want Keegan Murray. He's what they're asking for in these trades. So like, this is what's going to facilitate a trade. Do it. Like, take a swing. Because again, it's not like Keegan's going to be the number 2 guy on a championship team, right? So it's like, what are we doing? Like, okay.
He's not a winning player. Like, he could be on a winning team, but he's not going to be the guy on your team, if you're bad, who makes you good. Because at a fundamental level, he doesn't seem bothered by the fact that he's not playing well. Like, whenever he's asked about his 3-point shot, like, it's happened for the last couple seasons now. Like, they'll bring it up. He'll be like, nah, I'm not worried about it. And then I think this season he's like, no, not worried about it. It's like, look, man, I don't know what to tell you. You're shooting like less than 30% from 3. And that was your calling card. Like, you hit the most 3-pointers for a rookie in NBA history a few years ago. And now you're not a 3-point shooter. Like, you're not anymore.
Right.
Like, fundamentally, you shouldn't be shooting threes if you're shooting less than 35%. Like,
absolutely,
that's not a good NBA shot. And you're not, like, I don't know what I want to hear from Keegan, but it's definitely not that. It's definitely not, I'm not worried about it. Like,
again, he doesn't have that killer mentality. He doesn't have the killer instinct, seemingly, right? And so, to your point,
no, he doesn't.
I don't expect him to get up there and be like, I'm sucking and I got to go figure it out. But like that kind of accountability would be nice instead of I'm not worried about it.
Right. And again, this goes back to to like why De'Aaron Fox had to leave from a Kings fan standpoint was he didn't take accountability when he fouled a 3-point shooter and then he got his coach fired. The coach he didn't want to get fired, allegedly, which I don't believe. But
but do you think for Keegan Murray, do you think Keegan Murray is like a beloved Kings figure at this point?
I mean, he's definitely overrated by Kings fans. Well, actually, I take that back.
Like, do you think there would be an uproar if Keegan was traded? Because I don't think there would be. I think assuming we got some sort of a reasonable return. Again, if it's a De'Aaron Fox situation, then like give me a break. But if it's a quality trade where we get some assets coming back or whatever, I don't think they'd be like, oh my God, we traded Mr. Kings, because I don't see him as Mr. Kings.
Okay. I think it would be a split in the fan base, because I think there's still a lot of Kings fans that are very slow to react to reality, and they'll just remember his rookie season. And he would be kind of like the last remnant of that Beam team. I mean, I guess you still have Sabonis and Monk, but like he was kind of when I think of the Beam team, I think of him. Like he just like hits a ton of threes, like I think that there would be some fans, but I think there are some higher level, like more thinking man's type of people who understand like you just messed up really bad giving this guy a $30 million a year contract. Fundamentally, I mean, with all the raises he's going to get, I think he starts at 28 million and then it goes up from there or something like that. Keegan Murray is not he's probably not even a $20 million player if you're factoring in now the injury history that we're starting to see. That's a concern. So
yeah, I'm on board on moving him if we can, which we definitely can, but they're not going to.
It looks to me like, and you got to wonder if there's Vivek involvement with that. I would have told Keegan Murray, like, look, man, out of goodwill, I'll give you $20 million a year, just because like 20 million is not crazy money now in the NBA.
Right.
But, if you want more than that, go find someone else to pay it for you, and I'll make you a restricted free agent and we'll figure something out. Maybe you get something back in the trade. Maybe you overpay for him, at that point. But I find it hard to believe that in this market where no one had cap room going into the offseason, he was going to get that in the open market. There's no way. So that's just a piss poor salary cap management thing.
Right.
Shifting gears, Malik Monk. What are we thinking? It looks like he was not in the Kings' plans, but maybe that's changed. He's back in the rotation now. What are your thoughts?
I like Malik Monk. I think when I think of the Beam team, I think of him for sure, especially in the playoffs against the Warriors. So, I still got a soft spot for Malik Monk, and I think that he, from a purely vibes perspective, like he is the dude. I think he's not the dude on the court necessarily that's going to like change your fortune as a franchise, but having him as a sixth man on a good team is an awesome situation to be in.
Look, apparently they've been trying to move him and no one wants him at the price tag he's at, which is like $17 million. And I'm just thinking to myself, like,
that's wild.
Am I insane? Like, is this not a bargain? Like the summer before we were worried he was going to get 25 million from someone else, and now no one wants to take him at 17. So it's just really
is like, what's the return, right? I think it's not that people don't want him necessarily. I think it's more so about
they were about to trade him for Dennis Schroeder instead of using their trade exception just to clear the salary.
Right.
Like they were just giving him away basically because you didn't need to do that to get Dennis Schroeder. So
right.
Look, here's my take. I think that Malik is he's young enough and his contract is such that I would keep him around.
Mm-hmm.
If someone else wants him and they're willing to give up something of value for him, that's something I would look at. Like maybe if you could trade him for a position that you need more, because we have a ton of guards, like that's something you look at. Even if you lose that trade slightly, like you get maybe a slightly less talented player, but at a position of need, I could talk myself into that. But look, the guy's got serious beef right now with De'Aaron Fox, so I want him on the Kings for that reason alone.
Does he have beef with Fox? I thought they were
Well,
homies.
well, James Ham was saying on the radio yesterday, because someone called up and was saying like, "Oh, we should trade Monk to San Antonio for this player or whatever." And James Ham's like, "Look, I'm not going to get into it, but De'Aaron Fox would veto any trade sending Malik Monk to San Antonio," and he kind of
Oh,
just left it at that.
really?
And we saw what happened last year with De'Aaron Fox's wife and Monk kind of getting into it on the sideline after the game.
Yeah.
Something's up there, so I'm all in on Malik.
Yeah, and I don't love the back to Keegan Murray. I don't love the relationship he has with Fox either. Keegan Murray, you know what, dude? Like, there are some people in this world that are just tofu. Like, they just take on the flavor of everyone else around them because they don't have a personality, and that's what Keegan Murray is. So if De'Aaron Fox is talking bad about the Kings and talking bad about the organization, Keegan Murray is the kind of guy that just absorbs that and takes that on as his own personality. And so, again, not the vibe I'm looking for.
I didn't have this in the notes, but I got to bring it up because it did happen. So what do you think about them asking De'Aaron Fox if he's watching what's going on in Sacramento? And I think his comments were something like, "Nah, I don't really talk to anyone over there except for Keegan, and
I'm just happy. I was thinking of.
I'm just happy where I'm at, and I just want what's best for Keegan," or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I was going through my mind when I said that. Is like, first of all, I don't believe him. I think De'Aaron Fox is petty, and he's probably knows exactly where the Kings are at. And I don't like the relationship he has with Keegan Murray. I don't think that is a positive for the Kings in any way.
I wasn't planning on talking about De'Aaron Fox today, but it always seems to come up because that's the reason we restarted the podcast. What is it about De'Aaron that bothers me so much? And I've kind of thought about it because I like De'Aaron, and I don't think De'Aaron's a bad kid necessarily. Like, he's not like someone who's gonna go out. He's not like, well, maybe this is a good segue into John Morant, but he's not someone who's gonna like have trouble with the law or anything like that. He seems like a good family man, but like, what is it that annoys me about this guy? And I think I figured out what it is.
Were you annoyed with him before all the the probably 6 months before he got traded through his trade? Were you annoyed with him before that? Like, Beam Team, were you still annoyed with De'Aaron Fox?
So I had my hiatus with the Kings where I kind of just stopped watching for a couple of years, and then I came back after Beam Team.
Yeah.
Reluctantly and just like, okay, whatever. And my thought process going into like the new team that I kind of saw here was like, okay, well, Fox is like a number 2, and Sabonis is like a number 3. And I'm like, but they're as a number 1 and as a number 2 respectively, like they're still like good enough to get you in the playoffs. And I think that's good for turning the franchise around to stop being a losing franchise. Like, it's good to just like start winning. But then like you would see these things with Fox where it's like he has a ton of, like a great December, and then January he starts playing like crap and he stops talking to the media, right? And then like, this all comes out after he gets traded. Oh, like it wasn't his fault that he wasn't talking. Look, guys, I got a bridge to sell you in the middle of the desert if you believe any of this crap. Right. De'Aaron Fox, he's moody. Something was up with him. Something was going on. And it was clear to me he was checked out a lot of the times. A lot of the time, his last season and a half in Sacramento, he didn't have his foot on the accelerator. He didn't show up every night. He was just this very like passive franchise player, and it's like that's not a franchise player. And so it became clear to me leading up to that Detroit game where he fouled the 4-point shooter, where it's like, oh, like this guy is not someone that needs. He's not signing an extension. He's not a leader of men. He's not a franchise guy. Now's a good time to trade him before he only has a year left on his deal and he has some leverage. And what the Kings did was a masterclass in squandering that. Because like the thought process is like, you don't just get rid of Fox because like he's not a franchise guy and you need to get rid of him. You get rid of him because you want to get something back.
Right.
And they didn't. Right.
Of course.
And now he he did backdoor the Kings and screw the franchise into being able to get anything for him. But again, that goes back to you also let him do that.
Oh, see, that's a Monte problem. Like
that's a Vivek problem.
Sure. Okay, agreed on the same thing basically. he played the cards that he was dealt, and we played right into his hand.
We folded.
Exactly.
Right? You know what?
Yeah. It's like you can have whatever you want. So
he had like a pair of fours. Like he didn't have no hand, but he didn't have a great hand either.
Right.
Like
I don't blame him for playing those cards. I mean, I don't love it, but I don't blame him for it. The reason that he bothers me is the lack of accountability. It's the lack of again, I think it's because we wanted him to be the guy and he's just not the guy. Right. So when you're a franchise that's desperate for a guy who's like gonna be accountable, who's gonna take the team on his shoulders, and he was never that guy, and we all like he had so many moments to be that guy. I think that's why it bothers me the most.
Here's fundamentally the problem. He has the talent to be that guy. That's what really is the problem. That's
the most frustrating part, right? Because he had all the elements to make him that guy, but when it was time to step up and be the guy, he wasn't. So
it's between the ears. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have the mentality. I think he even said, like, in his last year in Sacramento, like, he didn't say this, but it was kind of a flavor of this. Like, this is just a job. Like, I'm focused on my family and my kid and my wife and all that.
Right.
Well, anyway, enough about De'Aaron Fox. The trade deadline's in 7 days, I believe. Does that sound right? 6 days?
Something like that. Yep. December 5th. Or February 5th, I should say.
February 5th.
Yep.
What do we think, man? What's going on?
So from what I'm hearing, I don't think there's going to be much of any moves at all because we can't move off of the guy.
Keon Ellis is getting traded is what I'm hearing, but
so sorry. When I think of the trade deadline, I think of DeRozan, Sabonis, and LaVine. Those are the guys that I care most about moving on from because those are the guys that are hampering us from doing anything else. And so I'm hearing that we're not going to be able to move on from LaVine at all because there's been one team, which is the Bucks, that have showed any interest whatsoever, and nobody else is interested at all. So now
the Bucks are not going to trade for him because they're going to trade Yanni. So
right, and that seems dead in the water. And by the way, that seems dead in the water for next year also. That seems like
okay,
and unless someone is in a position where again they could make the playoffs, they want an expiring whatever. It's
he's
still
going to be really
valuable
this summer. He's going to be really valuable this summer as an expiring contract. What I would do if I was Scott Perry is I would call up Rich Paul, who happens to be Zach LaVine's agent, and I would say, your client has an option for next year, but you have our permission to talk to other teams to see if someone wants to offer him a contract for like 3 years, 100
million or whatever.
That way he can know going into his decision whether or not he'll opt out of that. And you have our permit because technically he's under contract. You shouldn't be allowed to have those conversations, but just let him know, like, have that conversation and pray to God. Pray to God.
Would that not be a godsend?
Now, if he doesn't opt out of that, he still has value as an expiring contract. So maybe you trade him for two $20 million players, where one of the $20 million players is expiring and the other one isn't. And it's just like a team wants to move off of someone.
But even that, I mean, I agree that, yes, ideally that would happen. But even that is like, there's only so many teams that fit that mold. There's only so many teams that have that capability. So I think regardless, you're still incredibly limited. And frankly, at this point, he's a guy who doesn't want to be on the team. He's made that obvious, and culturally, it's going to do damage to the younger guys. It's going to do damage throughout the entire thing, right? Because he's one of your highest paid. I think he is the highest paid guy, right? Sabonis doesn't make more than he does.
I mean, he's one of the highest paid players in the NBA.
Right. So he's the highest paid guy, and he clearly doesn't want to be there. You got guys that are making a couple $1 million in there that are like, you can't have the young guys trying to build a culture when the old guys that are making the most money hate being here. It doesn't line up.
Yeah, I stand by my original recommendation of just like telling them to go home and chill. And like you said, you can't do that, and I'm like,
listen, if you can do that, you do that. I don't
I mean,
disagree with you at all.
who's gonna have an issue with it? Like maybe the NBA, but like even they, I think, kind of know what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, look, shifting gears because like Zach LaVine, I mean, like I remember when I heard De'Aaron Fox got traded, and I was just like, okay, let's like see what the return is. And as like the news started coming in, I was like, well, did we get like 5 draft picks? Because that was kind of initially how it was reported.
Right.
And then you find out that there was like
It was reported that we got like 4
one draft
firsts, and
pick.
we're like, oh, sick. Like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, it was like, but like when I found out Zach LaVine was part of that package, it was just like we better have gotten all the draft picks to take on that contract. And then you find out what they actually got.
We wanted Zach LaVine. Like that was the prize for them.
Dude, Zach LaVine
outrageous.
Is outrageous. Just like you don't realize it until he plays for your favorite team, but it's just like I'm sure there's a way to use him in a winning situation, but holy smokes.
Scott Perry knew who he was from jump, dude.
Wow.
When Scott Perry said a couple years ago, like he might be a good player, but he doesn't win games. That's exactly right. But it's funny because people still talk about him today. Like, you know, like, is there not a team that wants a 30-point game guy? And it's like, bro, everyone knows who he is. like on paper, yes, everyone wants a 30 points a game guy, but like we know who this guy is.
I stand by my original thing with him, which is I think he's best cast as a super six man. Where it's like if he's on, you ride him, and if he's not on, like he's not a starter anyway. So like that's I think how he would probably be best utilized in the NBA because I mean he is an offensive weapon, but like
for sure
he's giving you nothing else.
But a super six man, what are you going to pay a super six man right now?
I'd pay him like 25 to 28. You know, basically what we're giving Keegan, which like Keegan is anyway. All right. Besides moving off Zach LaVine.
Yeah, I hear Sabonis is getting interest from Toronto, and I've heard everything from it's not going to happen and we can stop thinking about it to it's very likely to happen. So I have no idea what to make of that. But they want to include, I can't remember the guy's name. You probably do.
Jakob
Poeltl. They want to include Jakob Poeltl, which is like widely considered one of the worst deals in history. So like that would just hamstring us in a different way. So
they have nothing I'm interested in. I'll just tell you that right now. Like,
yeah, but I just want to move. I want to move off of Sabonis. I think we got to get off of him.
I mean, we probably disagree a little bit on that. I think that Sabonis. I mean, what exactly is the end game in moving off of him? Like, what are you gonna like? You need good players to play on your team, even if you suck. Because if your goal is like Dylan Cardwell and Raynaud playing all the minutes at center, like, okay, so you want them going up against the other team's like first unit and just like getting completely destroyed and demoralized. Like, I don't think that's going to be good for their development. And I think for any guard that you bring in, playing with a good big man in their rookie season, I think would be helpful in their development. So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not someone who just wants to get rid of him because there's nothing they're going to be able to do with that cap room anyways. I want something for him. And if I could get something for him, sure, we can move off of him. And I think that's where Scott Perry's at too.
Yeah, Scott Perry wants a first for him. He said that the other day that that's his price for Sabonis. But I think that it brings us to a larger conversation because I think at this point in the Kings season, you win by losing. And I think that our goal for the rest of this season should be to lose games. When I saw, we want to know what, a 4-game winning streak or maybe even a 5-game winning streak?
4 games.
4 games. When I saw that was going on, I'm like, we have to stop. We cannot keep winning games. This is not good. And because again, what is the point? At this point in the season, what's the point of winning games?
Okay. I'm stretching here because
I'm
ready to argue. All right. Here we go. Okay. So you and I are old enough to remember several drafts because the Kings have been really bad for the last 20 years.
Right.
Basically, I guess what I would want to impress on the audience. I remember when Andrew Wiggins was coming out. He was the number 1 pick. He was going to be a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
How has that turned out? The number 2 pick that year, Jabari Parker. Anyone want to talk about how his NBA career turned out?
He was on the Kings.
Let's look at Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson was one of the most exciting prospects in the last decade to come into the draft.
Mm-hmm.
How has that worked out? If you're a real old head, you remember Hashim Thabit coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Even some of the more successful number 1 overall picks are people like Karl Anthony Towns. Now, let's contrast that. The worst thing that could have happened to the Kings in 2009, coming off of that 17-win season, would have been to get the number 2 overall pick because they would have taken Hashim Thabit.
Right.
You know what would have been the best thing for the Kings in 2009? If they were a little better and they had the 7th pick instead of the 4th pick, because the 7th pick was Stephen Curry. The number 1 pick that year was Blake Griffin. And there was no one in the world who was going to take Steph Curry over Blake Griffin.
Right, but you can't project that out for every draft. So, like, I think that, like, the point that you're trying to make is that, like, you want a worse draft pick. And I don't think that's an accurate point.
I'm saying what I'm trying to is that the draft kind of works itself out and you're not guaranteed a star player. Like, think about all these amazing prospects who just
it's about playing the percentages. It's not about a guarantee. It's about playing the percentages. Like, I would think, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I would think that there's more successful players in 1 through 5 than there are in 5 through 10. That's what I would guess.
I mean, if you look at
that's how it's supposed to work.
If you look at the All-Star game,
I understand the All-Star game. We've talked about it, but that doesn't, like, All-Stars aside, I think that's how the draft is supposed to work.
That's how it's supposed to work. And, like, look, I think the number 1 pick this year is going to be the kid out of BYU, AJ DeBomsa. I don't know what it is. Whatever. No disrespect to him and his last name. I don't know how it's said. People can't say my name, so deal with it. Okay. Like, sure, if you can get the number 1 pick and get him, he looks like a pretty good prospect. But again, not a sure thing. There are no sure things.
Just so we're clear, I'm not saying, like, we got to go get the number 1 pick because it's highly unlikely that we'll get the number 1 pick anyways, even if we have the worst record. My point is, you want to have, like, I'd rather be last in the league than first out of the play-in.
Well, that's what Dallas was last year.
Wow, there's a little. We can talk about that if you want. Yeah.
Chicanery going on.
Right,
there,
exactly. That's a unique situation. We're never going to get so lucky.
Look, if Tim Duncan's coming out, if Wemby's coming out, if LeBron's coming out, I think that's a little different, and you want to give yourself the best chance to get a player like that. But if it's going to be a crapshoot anyways, I don't know that as a franchise. Like, I think tactically, like, look, if it's the last 10 games of the season, you want to mail it in, that's one thing. But it's like, I don't think it's good for the development of young players to just get blown the F off the court by 30 points.
We're doing that anyways.
I don't think that's a good thing.
It's not, but at least we'd be doing it intentionally.
And then the other thing, too, I want to kind of say, just to kind of put this out there, it's like there's also this thought that we need to draft the guy. These draft picks we have, man, like, yeah, they could wind up being superstars, but they could also wind up being Jason Thompson or Quincy Doobie, or take your pick of random guy.
It's all a crapshoot.
So, like, you know, maybe you package a couple of these picks and you go after a disgruntled star. like if Paolo Banchero becomes available or something like that.
Yeah,
Not that I think he's the guy, but I'm just like throwing.
But I'm on board. Yeah, of course. Like,
you know
I
what
agree
mean?
with you on that. Yep.
And so at some point, like, you got to get out of this mode of like losing is going to somehow lead to winning in the future. Because if that was the case, the Kings wouldn't be in the place that they're in.
But you
like,
don't have that
been losing for 20
mentality.
years.
But you don't, like, when you have the beam team, you're not like, I don't care that we can make the playoffs, let's go lose. It's when you're already losing that you're like, sometimes it's better, you're better off losing more. So let me ask you this. We give you the third pick or the 7th pick this year. Which one would you like?
The third pick. You're always going to take the higher
okay,
pick.
Bro. So I rest my case. It's like, that's it. Because that's where we're at, like, right? Like, of course I want to pick outside the lottery because we're good, but that's not the situation we're in.
What I'm trying to get at, though, is kind of this higher level of thinking, which is like looking back at 2009. I'm just going to use that as like an extreme example to illustrate the point. Like, obviously, most drafts are not going to end up this way, but it's like the Warriors built a dynasty without. I think that they did have a couple like top 3 or top 4 picks that like went nowhere. Like their whole thing was built on a number 7 pick and a number 11 pick.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like that's how they became the Warriors.
Right.
And so,
but they got lucky, right?
They got lucky.
And then that's what it takes.
I get that.
That's not skill. It's just luck.
Dude, I have to share this once again with the podcast audience. I'll never forget in 2010, the NBA draft was like the same day or around the same day as the day that I graduated from UC Irvine. And I went to a party on the night before, or like the next day or whenever the draft had already happened when I was at this party. And a couple of my buddies from the Bay Area, they're big Warriors fans, like, dude, man, you guys got Tyreek and DeMarcus Cousins, and we got Steph Curry and Ekpe Udoh. I'm jealous. Like, they were jealous of the Kings.
Yeah, that's great.
Right? And it's
they were down bad at that point, right?
They were down really bad. It's like, oh, Steph plays the same position as Monte.
Yeah.
And like, they loved Monte. Loved Monte. And they were so pissed when they traded Monte for Andrew Bogut. You just don't know how things are going to work out. Unless you're trading De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine, at which point you do know how that's going to work out. You know exactly how it's
going to work out.
But
yeah,
like, you don't know. So like, Tyrese Halliburton taking a team to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Took a team to the NBA Finals. He was a 12th pick. You had him.
Right.
Like, then you take Keegan Murray with the 4th pick. Like, so let me ask you, who's a better player, Keegan Murray or Tyrese Halliburton? Like, well, one was a 12. Like, once you draft a player, like, they're just a player. It doesn't matter where they were drafted.
I agree with you.
So,
but again, I think
I agree with you. I would rather have the 3rd pick than the 7th pick. I agree with you. So we're not disagreeing in like an absolute sense. I think where the disagreement is, how important is it? And I don't think it's that important. If you're good at drafting players, you will find a dope player in the top 10. If you're not good at drafting players, you will probably work in the Kings front office for 5 years before you're fired.
Well, I was going to say, so we're not good at drafting players. So now that we have the whole picture, we have an organization who's awful at drafting players. We agree that you have a better chance. I think we agree that you have a better chance to draft a quality player lower in the draft. So given the situation, we don't have an opportunity to win games because we're awful. So we want to have the lowest draft pick we can possibly get. Just in the hopes that we get lucky, not because we think we can outsmart anybody and choose somebody who should have, like the Warriors weren't going to take Stephen Curry if they had the 2nd pick, right? They got lucky. And congratulations to them. That's awesome. But like, the Kings have to get lucky. It's the only way we're going to do anything. The Kings got lucky getting De'Aaron Fox. They got lucky getting Keegan Murray. Like, it's not like we did some wizardry and found out something nobody else knew.
You want me to just be an a-hole about it? De'Aaron Fox was probably not the right pick at number 5. That was Donovan Mitchell. But how do you know that? You don't know that ahead of time.
Right.
And Donovan Mitchell went number 10.
Right.
Oh, DeMarcus Cousins. Kings took him at number 5. That kind of worked out. Well, they could have drafted Paul George, who also went number 10.
Right.
So, like,
and those teams got lucky. The 10th pick teams got lucky, right? Because it was the best guy that was available at the time they had the draft.
Should we trade for John Morant?
I think we should. I think we should trade for John Morant. He's a certified baller. I know that for sure. He injury prone is going to be an issue. I don't actually care about the cultural issues at all, to be honest with you, because it's not like
go on. I'm here for it.
It's not like we have like this awesome culture that we have to maintain, and it's not like these rookies are going to come in and build the culture anyway. So if we could somehow get rid of Zach LaVine, this is how it would work in my head. If we could somehow get rid of Zach LaVine and bring in John Morant, it's like, is that any worse for our culture than just keeping Zach LaVine on the books? I don't think so.
As far as I'm aware, so I think John Morant got into like a fist fight with a 17-year-old at like a pickup basketball game.
Something like that.
Which, like, okay, dude, like, what are you doing? But other than that, like, the gun stuff doesn't really bother me. I'm just, I think of all people, randomly, JJ Redick kind of had the right take on it, which is like, he has a Second Amendment right. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
right.
Is it? It's kind of a sign of like lack of judgment, maybe to brandish that, but
it's just bad optics. But outside of bad optics, it's like, who cares?
Like, he's not like strong arm robbery, doing strong arm robberies. He's not hurting.
He just wants to be in the club with a gun, dude.
Which
and there's plenty of people in Sacramento clubs with guns, so he'll be in good company.
I don't know. Look, I'd steer clear of him for the injury stuff. I don't really care about the cultural issues. I think that any player that you're going to be able to get without paying the sun and the moon for is going to have some, issue. He's functionally, I mean, I don't know. For a while, what was the saying that the one douchebag on ESPN said? That John Morant's everything De'Aaron Fox wishes he was, or something. Like, I don't think that there's a lot of people that would suggest, when he's healthy, that John Morant's not at least as good as De'Aaron Fox. And if you could kind of reverse the De'Aaron Fox trade by trading Zach LaVine for John Morant, I think you have to consider that. But I think I'm out with the injury. I'm out with the injury history on him.
So you think no?
I mean, if it's just like you're going to just straight up give him to us, yes. But if I'm attaching any assets, no.
What's his contract left? I don't know. Off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would imagine it's in the 40s.
No, I'm talking about years.
Well, there's a computer in front of me, so I could search this, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. Maybe I'll tweet it out later.
So my thought is that it's like, let's bring him in, because I think even if you bring in John Morant, we're still going to be bad, right? As currently constructed. I want
to say he has 2 years left.
So that would actually be perfect if he has 2 years left, because we bring in John Morant, where when he is healthy, he's playing well and he's getting buckets like he does, and he's making people around him better. And when he's not healthy, okay, we're going to lose anyways. So, like, because I think we're in at least a 2-year rebuild anyways right now.
Do you think Jaws his actual name?
I really do.
That'd be tight. Okay, he has, after this season, 2 more years. So he's a free agent. So he's making 39.5. Next year, he makes 42.1. And then the year after that, he makes 40. I'm just going to round up 45.
Okay, so this is, I think it could be perfect.
So he
hangs around for the
year.
He hangs around for the next 2 years,
okay.
and then on an expiring, you can trade him, because he's not a long-term guy, in my opinion. So on an expiring contract,
well, he is if it works out, but if it doesn't work out, he's not.
But it's probably not going to work out.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, this is not someone who's available as far as I'm aware. But if I had a star player that I would just throw the moon in the sun and maybe Venus. I don't know if I'd put Jupiter in there, but we'll throw in Venus.
Sure.
And we'll have swap rights on Mars or something. I don't know. It would be Tyrese Maxey.
Okay.
Philly is not going to trade him. But if that changes and they decide that, Embiid's done, they're just going to have to hit the reset button. That's a team that I would just be like, here's like 3 first-round picks, and like we'll give you like a couple pick swaps and like just whatever it takes money-wise to make it happen. Because I think Tyrese Maxey is basically what De'Aaron Fox could have been. Like, he's that type of player.
He's that dude.
He's a little bit more of a shooting guard than De'Aaron, but that guy is, oh man, if that guy became available, I would just whatever they want. That would fast track a rebuild. I think you'd start winning games right away with that guy.
Okay. Honestly, I haven't watched that much 76er basketball to see how he plays. I know he's obviously considered a good player, but I haven't seen it in action too much.
All right, Geoff. Any closing thoughts?
I have a question for you to close it out. Okay. I saw today that Golden State threw like a Hail Mary offer at the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Golden State is still a destination?
Yeah, I do.
You think they still got you think if they got Giannis, you think they would be primed for another run?
Yeah, I do. I think that they know how to win games in the playoffs. And I think if you were to add a top 5 player in the world into that situation, on any given night, Steph could go for 50. I mean, there's going to be games where Steph shows his age and he doesn't show up. That's just the reality of being 37. But the right answer here is San Francisco should probably blow up that team. But I would say if they got Yanni, they'd have like a 10% shot to make it to the finals. And
okay, not a terrible shot.
That's not.
And Yanni's still got he's got 4 or 5 years left of.
He's 31. He's got 4 years, I think, of being at least 3 years left of being a very high level,
right?
Top 10 guy. So I think you have to look at that, but I'm still on the page that I want De'Aaron Fox traded to Milwaukee for him. So we need to make that happen somehow.
Excellent. That would be excellent.
All right, man. Well, let's see. We're gonna have to leave it there. And if something big happens, we'll do another podcast. Until next time,
we get some action at the trade deadline.
Go Kings.
Go Kings, baby.